Um, and obviously won a Commissioner's Cup last year, and is genuinely a good basketball coach. The question that a lot of us have had is she the right coach for Caitlin Clark? Not is she a good coach, because I think everybody knows that Stephanie White's a really good basketball coach. It's, is she the right coach for Caitlin Clark specifically? And that for me is always a really interesting question to ask. However, we have to talk about
Caitlin Clark's appearance on the NBA pregame coverage preceding the Lakers vs. Knicks contest at Madison Square Garden generated significant attention, and her presentation quality proved exceptional. Following an extended All-Star announcement sequence, Clark finally appeared and demonstrated remarkable capability. The height disparity between her and broadcast partners Reggie Miller and Carmelo Anthony created visual contrast, but this didn't impact her effectiveness. Her execution was outstanding. Clark addressed the collective bargaining agreement situation when prompted by NBC, which deserves acknowledgement for raising the topic. Her remarks proved noteworthy. Approximately 1 month earlier, the athletes held a vote authorizing potential strike action.
Question to ask. However, we have to talk about what Caitlin Clark said today. So, if you guys know, there is an iconic clip of Stephanie White, and this is like maybe a month before Luka got traded. Or no, it was right before Christmas. So it was right before Luka picked up that injury. The Mavs were flying. Or maybe, sorry, no, it was just after Christmas. So up until Luka got injured, the Mavs were flying. I think they were the second seed or the third seed in the West. They were near the top of the West anyway. They were doing really.
3 players reportedly declined to support strike authorization during that meeting. Whether Clark numbered among those 3 remains unclear. A significant negotiation session between league ownership and the players' union was scheduled, potentially occurring following the unrivaled contest. Kelsey Plum, Nafisa Collier, and Nneka Ogwumike were designated to represent the athletes in discussions with WNBA and NBA leadership. Adam Silver's attendance remained uncertain. The situation reveals apparent divisions among athletes regarding appropriate tactics. Clark's position has been unambiguous. Achieving resolution and returning to competitive play represents the imperative.
They were doing really well. Him and Kyrie were killing it. And Luka was looking like he was playing at an MVP level. Absolutely incredible. And obviously he got injured. And Stephanie White on a broadcast said that the Dallas Mavericks were much better without Luka because more people score and more people touch the ball. And the ball moves better without Luka. Caitlin Clark is...
She consistently emphasizes ensuring the WNBA season proceeds. Just days before Clark's appearance, Natasha Cloud articulated vastly different perspectives. She conveyed disappointment and anger regarding the league's negotiation approach, condemning what she characterized as failure to acknowledge player contributions and reluctance to meaningfully address their concerns. She mentioned the upcoming television contract renegotiation scheduled for 2 years ahead, implying the league wasn't incorporating this into current discussions. Cloud claimed the actual revenue-sharing percentages being offered would outrage people if revealed publicly. She declared unequivocally that the athletes refuse to compromise, staring into the camera to proclaim they won't budge until the league does.
And the ball moves better without Luka. Caitlin Clark is... I'm not going to say Luka's the player she's most similar to, because I do believe that in the full court she's most similar to a Halliburton. But you can tell that Caitlin Clark likes to dominate the ball. And the way she works best in the half court is not through emotion offense, not through being an off-the-ball player, not being Stephen Curry. Because, by the way, Caitlin Clark is as close... Saying Caitlin Clark is Stephen Curry is like saying Trae Young Stephen Curry.
She framed failure to adequately compensate the athletes generating the business as possibly the most catastrophic business choice conceivable, putting pressure squarely on the NBA and Adam Silver. The divergence between Clark's messaging and Cloud's statements is dramatic. Clark seems to be the sole prominent athlete refraining from criticizing the WNBA directly. Other players convey messages implying self-sufficiency from the league, highlighting unrivaled as a viable alternative. The delivery methods for these contrasting messages reveal profound differences. If most league athletes presented themselves similarly to Clark, viewership numbers would probably increase meaningfully.
Is like saying Trae Young, Stephen Curry. Like, she's nowhere near. I wouldn't say she's anywhere near Trae Young because, like, she's much like if she's Trae Young, if Trae Young was 6'7", like that's what she's equivalent of. She is the height of a small forward. Like if Trae Young was 6'7", but if Trae Young was 6'7", we'd be talking about maybe like the best player in the world. So yeah, maybe she's taller than Trae Young as is. But if you guys didn't hear today,
she recognized everyone is laboring intensively, mentioning the upcoming important negotiation session. Clark genuinely anticipates resolution arriving within weeks. She acknowledged multiple complications persist. 2 expansion organizations mean record player populations, subsequently followed by free agency procedures and the regular draft cycle. Regardless of these obstacles, she communicated genuine confidence that both parties will forge an agreement shortly. Discussing the league's growth and expansion, Clark recollected her inaugural WNBA experience as a youngster, observing the Minnesota Lynx championship team featuring Maya Moore competing against the Seattle Storm. Currently, nearly every facility achieves sellout status.
you guys didn't hear today, this is what Caitlin Clark said.
In his game, maybe you would want to add to yours in the league?
Man, I think Luka. Luka's amazing and he's incredible. I think the way he can not only score the ball, but also the way he passes. And I think the thing about him is, like, he's not the fastest, he's not the most athletic, but he can get his defender to move where he wants him to go, and he takes up that space, and he does a really good job of either keeping the defender behind him or keeping him to the side. So I think that's something I can certainly learn from. Like, I always kind of want to run away from the defense rather than absorbing the contact and taking up the space that they give me.
The organization expanded to 14 franchises with ambitions of attaining 18 within several years. Commercial operations are prospering, which represents positive development. The league must persistently rise to ongoing challenges. Skill levels continue advancing across both amateur and professional competition. Clark communicated appreciation for her circumstances and optimism about an extended career trajectory. Clark's commentary concentrated predominantly on expansion organizations, the requirement to compete, and various administrative tasks requiring completion.
So I think obviously he's pretty incredible. He averages like a 30-point triple-double, so he makes it look pretty easy, but I can promise you it's not.
So it's one of those things where she basically said the player that she looks at is the player that her coach specifically thinks is a net negative. The player her coach thinks is a net negative is like, yeah, I'm trying to be that player. Let's look at the comments. Try to get her to watch Shea tape. Is she more like Luka Doncic? Caitlin Clark is nothing like Stephen Curry. Like, not even remotely close to Stephen Curry. They don't play anything alike.
Her entire messaging orbits around the core necessity of being on the floor competing. The presentation style differs so profoundly from alternative voices that it prompts consideration. What explains Clark not holding the Players' Union presidency? Her communication competency and message presentation capabilities appear remarkable. Yet numerous league athletes seemingly don't value this presentation methodology. Other players have personalized negotiations, converting the situation into some sort of crusade.
Close to Stephen Curry. They don't play anything alike. Like, it's like saying, I'm trying to think of just a comparison to Stephen Curry. It's like saying Jimmer and Stephen Curry played anything alike. Jimmer just comes off screens and shoots from 30. Like, Steph Curry is this off-the-ball mover, came into the league as a 2 guard, is actually a point guard. Like, Caitlin Clark's like a Halliburton type point guard. It's mad. She is nothing. She shoots from far. She's nothing like Stephen Curry. 2 favorite players, respective leagues.
Whether this genuinely concerns enhanced pay or public image and recognition seeking becomes questionable. The league has already proposed significant compensation increases. Presentation technique carries substantial weight. Comparable to political discourse, 2 elements predominate: rational thinking and personal appeal. Does the communicator project likability? Can they articulate thoughts and sustain clear, rational presentation that makes audiences appreciate listening?
Step stool or something. Wow. It was pretty visually jarring seeing the height difference between her and Reggie Miller and Carmelo Anthony. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It was really good. She did a very good job. But she made some comments about the CBA because, well, I give credit to NBC for asking about it, and
This creates immense impact. The pronounced contrast in presentation style and disposition between different player representatives is unmistakable. One exhibits hostility while the other doesn't. Clark delivered an exceptional performance during her segment. During the broadcast, player-style comparisons emerged. Carmelo Anthony proposed Luka Doncic as a parallel for Clark's playing approach. Other frequently cited comparisons include Stephen Curry and Larry Bird.
It's pretty jarring. Again, remember when the players voted for the ability to go on strike? This was what, a month ago maybe? They all met and they all had a vote. And there were 3 players. I think we figured out there was 3 players that did not vote yes for a potential strike. I would love to know if she's one of them. Okay. Now today is the big meeting. I'm sure I will have some news about.
Reggie Miller suggested an alternative comparison that drew some online critique regarding his selection. Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White represent the core player-coach relationship for the Indiana Fever moving forward. The organization shows no indication of making coaching changes before giving this pairing adequate time to develop. Both individuals clearly maintain mutual respect on a personal level, and Clark's regard for White as a coach appears genuine and well-founded. White's coaching credentials speak for themselves. She's reached WNBA finals, made multiple semi-final appearances, earned Coach of the Year honors, advanced to 3 consecutive semi-finals, and captured a Commissioner's Cup championship.
Have some news about that potentially later in the day. Big meeting between the WNBA/NBA owners and the Players Union. Kelsey Plum. Oh, wait a minute. They're going after the Unrivaled game, I think. So anyway, Kelsey Plum, Nafisia Collier, Nike Agumake going to meet with the NBA/WNBA. I would love to know if Adam Silver's going to be there.
Her track record establishes her as a legitimately skilled basketball coach. The relevant question isn't whether White can coach effectively, but rather whether her system optimally maximizes Clark's unique skill set. Recent comments from Clark highlighted an interesting dynamic between player and coach philosophies. Approximately a month before Christmas, during a period when Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks were performing exceptionally well as a top seed in the Western Conference, White made controversial statements during a broadcast. She suggested the Mavericks played better without Doncic because ball movement improved and more players got scoring opportunities. This came before Doncic's injury when he was playing at an MVP level alongside Kyrie Irving.
I would love to know if Adam Silver's going to be there. But it's pretty clear, and I've talked about this. I think there's a real split amongst the players as to what it is they should be doing. Because Caitlin Clark has made it very, very clear. They've got to have a resolution. They need to get a resolution, and they need to get on the court and play ball.
Clark recently praised Doncic's game extensively during her NBC analyst appearance, specifically identifying elements she wants to incorporate into her own playing style. She highlighted his ability to score and pass, noting how he manipulates defenders into disadvantageous positions despite lacking elite speed or athleticism. Clark admired how Doncic occupies space effectively, keeping defenders either behind or beside him rather than in optimal defensive positions. Clark acknowledged her tendency to avoid contact and move away from defenders rather than absorbing contact and claiming available space. She recognized Doncic's ability to make a 30-point triple-double look routine while understanding the extreme difficulty involved. This creates a notable contradiction where Clark explicitly wants to emulate a player her coach characterized as detrimental to team success.
And play ball. And you can tell it is a priority for her that they have a WNBA season and that they play basketball. Now, before we get to her comments, this was just like 3 days ago. Natasha Cloud.
Honestly, I'm just kind of like upset, frustrated, all of us, and in a lot of ways just like disgusted with the W and how they're handling this and their lack of value.
The comparison between Clark and various NBA players generates constant debate. While Clark shoots from extreme range like Stephen Curry, the similarity essentially ends there. Curry operates primarily as an off-ball movement player who came into the league as a shooting guard before transitioning to point guard. Clark functions more like a traditional ball-dominant point guard in the mold of Tyrese Halliburton, though in full-court situations their styles align more closely. The Curry comparison breaks down completely upon examination of playing styles. Curry excels at moving without the ball, coming off screens, and creating shots through constant motion.
Their lack of value, their lack of worth for us, their lack of even trying to attempt to move the needle with us. Like, we know what is on the horizon. We know in 2 years our TV deal is up and there's a new TV deal that's going to come that they're not even putting on the table for us. The percentages, if we actually told you the percentages of what they're giving, that they're like sending to us, it would absolutely piss y'all off. Mm-hmm. So like, just know when we are standing firm in our feet and 10 toes down, there is a reason, and we will not move until y'all move.
Clark dominates possession, controls tempo, and operates best with the ball in her hands, orchestrating offense. Comparing Clark to Curry makes about as much sense as comparing Jimmer Fredette to Curry just because both shot from deep range. The long-range shooting represents their only meaningful similarity. A more accurate comparison might place Clark closer to Trae Young, though with significant differences. If Young possessed Clark's height advantage, essentially playing at small forward size while maintaining point guard skills, the discussion would involve potentially the best player in basketball. Clark stands significantly taller than typical point guards, creating matchup problems that shorter ball-dominant guards cannot replicate.
There is a reason, and we will not move until y'all move. So I'm going to look directly into the camera, too. We will not move until y'all move. And it would be the worst business decision of any business to not literally pay the players that make your business go. Move without us, there's no W's. And it would be the worst business. The pressure is on the any business, on to not literally pay Adam, the players, everyone that is in that front. Honestly, I'm
okay. I mean, that was her comments from the other day. And do you notice that
some observers suggest Clark should study Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's game, but the physical styles don't align. Clark lacks the body control and shiftiness that define Shai's game. His ability to maneuver in tight spaces, change speed smoothly, and control his movements in the half-court represents a different athletic profile entirely. Clark's athleticism manifests differently. Her defining characteristic involves relentless pace and constant movement. She can sprint repeatedly at a level unmatched by any player in her league, maintaining a breakneck pace that forces opponents to match her energy.
The day, and do you notice that Caitlin Clark seems to be the only one that doesn't launch some kind of actual attack on the WNBA? I mean, they're talking like, hey, we don't need the WNBA. We can do unrivaled, blah, 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 blah. And the manner in which their message is delivered, it is startling